Hello, Greek students. Welcome to the Colossians Greek reading course with Dr. Rob Plummer. Dr. Plummer asked me to share with you a tool to help you build your vocabulary as you read through the book of Colossians in the Greek. My name is Greg Wolf, and I am the co-creator of GNTVocab.com, a learning ministry supported by the Daily Dose of Greek. Once you go to GNTVocab.com, you'll get the landing page, which allows you to sign in or sign up for this service. GNTVocab.com is an online web app. So if you have a smartphone, a mobile device, or a PC or Mac, you can access GNTVocab.com. Anywhere that you have an internet connection, you can access GNTVocab.com. In order to use GNTVocab.com, you'll have to set up an account using a valid email address. We only use the email address to allow you to track your progress as you learn the vocabulary of the Greek New Testament. So when you click the Sign In or Sign Up app, if this is your first time, you'll have to click the Sign Up button at the bottom of this screen, and you'll have to enter a valid email address with a password. Once you continue with that, you'll receive an email from gntvocab.com for you to validate that email address. Once you've validated that, you can now log in with that email address and password that you've provided. So let's go ahead and log into gntvocab.com, and we'll show you this new tool for learning Greek vocabulary. When you log into gntvocab.com, you start with the learning page. It gives you a list of the total words learned, your overall accuracy, your learning rate, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And then there are settings. Also at the top, there are several menu items: learning, filters, review list, about, and contact, and we'll talk about those briefly. I want to start with the settings options because you can determine certain things with the Vocab app. You can choose to include proper names. Some people feel that it's not that important to include proper names when learning Greek because there's almost a direct correlation between the Greek word and the English word. But for now, we're going to keep that checked. You can also choose to include or not include the sound effects. The sound effects are just when you get a correct or incorrect answer, it will affirm or demonstrate that you missed the word or got it correct. Some people find those little tones annoying, or some people want to listen to music or have sounds on in the background while they're using this. So we do allow that to be turned off. If you happen to know someone who knows Chinese and wants to learn Greek, we've included Chinese options for learning Greek New Testament. This is a brand new addition here. We're also working on German and Spanish, and if there are any other languages that you'd like included, if it's your native language and you're studying Greek and you're proficient in Greek, we'd love for you to include that here. You also have the option to reset learning, which makes it as if you are a brand new student, not starting out with any vocabulary at all. Some of you may already be familiar with gntvocab.com, so you will already have some words learned here. You can also log out to make sure that no one else uses your settings. So let's go back to the Learning tab. We'll talk about the filters first. So because you're learning the book of Colossians, we have the option for you to learn just the book of Colossians. You can see that there are 431 unique words in the book of Colossians. But I want to suggest to you that you learn a different way. We've recently added the option to learn books of the New Testament by chapter. So I would recommend that you choose by chapter and then select the book of Colossians and then begin with chapter 1. We'll go through more of this demonstration later on. If you have already been using gntvocab.com, you will have some words learned here already. but we want to go through the process as if we're a new student. The review list, you'll notice that right now there's 0 words that are in our review list because we haven't started learning. But as your vocabulary grows, you will see a list of all the words that you've learned and are currently learning. On the About page, it tells us a little bit about what's been going on with the app, who we are, and what we do. And then finally, there's a contact page. Believe it or not, we don't get everything right. So if you happen to see an error in the app, please let us know. If you think that we've got one of the glosses for one of the lemmas incorrect, let us know. We have corrected some of those also in the past. Now, when we go to the Filters tab, if you want to continue learning Greek grammar and vocabulary, we also have the option for you to learn by grammar if you're in a seminary class. Here we see that we have Beginning with New Testament Greek by Merkel and Plummer. Again, none of these words are learned, but if you take a look at this list of grammars, we have a wide selection of grammars available for you. If you are at a seminary and you're using a grammar that is not included in this list, but you would like to use gntvocab.com, feel free to send a note to us on the contact page. If I can get my hands on that grammar, I will add those words as quickly as possible. So let's go back to learning by chapter and then back to our learning page. Now, I haven't talked about the learning rate yet. When you are a new user, it defaults to what is 80%. And this tells you how quickly or how slowly you will learn words in the Greek New Testament. Now, at the 80% rate, it requires that you learn and answer correctly every word in your vocabulary at least 6 times before it will give you new words. If you go all the way to the right and want to learn as fast as you can, you only need to answer each word correctly 2 times. All the way to the left, 20 times. Now, if you're a new student and or struggle with vocabulary, you may want to keep your learning rate slider farther to the left. If you already have a larger vocabulary, you may want to slide it all the way to the right and learn words that way. Now, keep in mind that if you have problems retaining some of the vocabulary that you've already learned, you may want to begin just easing the slider back until you feel more confident in your retention of those words. But we will also give you some tips for how to increase your retention and comprehension on your learning. So let's go ahead. I'm going to set it at 100% just because we want to move through these words as quickly as possible for demonstration. But I will also give you some guidance on how to learn words better for your vocabulary. So when we begin our learning, we receive a flashcard, for the lack of better terms, with the Greek term at the top with the English gloss on the bottom. Now, again, because Greek words have a breadth of meaning, we're not going to include every single possible variation and definition included here. However, we're including the most common uses of the word. It's up to the student to do the independent study to find out how is this word used, what is the nuance in this context. So in this case, here's my recommendation for learning and retaining your Greek vocabulary. So when you receive a new word, read the Greek word out loud so that you are familiar with how to pronounce it. Here we have the word ek, and X is used when it's prior to another vowel, but ek or X. So just say the Greek word over and over until you can pronounce it easily and fluently and clearly. Now, ek is a very easy word to pronounce, but as you get to more complex words, the more you can read it out loud easily, will help you as you read the Greek New Testament. So ek, X. Then read the definition, the English definition out loud. From, out of, from, out of. And say that over and over until you've got the definition learned. Then say the Greek word and the definition together. Ek, from, out of. Ek, from, out of. And once you've got that burned in your brain a little bit, then move on to the next card. Here we have Kai and even also. Now we're going to skip through the video now as I go through all these cards because it will take us too long to go through each card individually, reading it out loud. So when we've gone through the initial set of cards, just looking at the Greek and seeing the definition, here is where we move into the quizzing phase, where you'll be given 20 words and you will have to determine what the correct answer is. Now, if you've learned this word, autos, you will know that it means he, she, it, self, same. Now, I would recommend that before you start hunting and pecking and just trying to remember which word it's supposed to be, look at the Greek word only and recite that word with its definition as you learned it when you were reviewing the flashcards. So it would be autos, he, she, it, self, same. Then look on these cards trying to find that particular definition. And here we have it down here. Now, if you're on a desktop version of this, you can use the number keypad. If you've got a touch screen, you can touch it. If you're using a mouse, you can touch it. On a mobile device, all you have to do is tap the correct tile. And here we go. We've got the correct answer. De is and, but, now. And you continue to move through these words until you complete those 20 words. So I'm going to simulate that, and then we'll keep moving through to new words. So now we've simulated coming through the words, and one of the things you'll notice is in the right-hand corner of this flashcard, there's a small circle, and it's half filled in. That tells us that we've learned that word half as much as we need to prior to getting new words. Now, because my learning rate is set all the way to the right and I only need to see each word twice, this time, when we go through this word for the second time, and we've gone through the other words, we'll see what happens. Here we go. Once we complete that list, we get 5 new words. And I would recommend you go through that process of learning the Greek word, learning the definition, and saying the Greek word and the definition together in order to retain that word. Now, the new words will be given to you first each time that you learn these words. And as your vocabulary builds, you'll continue to see some of those older words, but not as frequently. If you keep this up, eventually you will learn all the words from Colossians. Once you complete all the words from chapter 1 in Colossians, you'll see that you've learned 172 words. But also note that chapters 2, 3, and 4 have quite a few words within those chapters that you've already learned. So when you move to chapter 2, you won't have to relearn those words from chapter 1. Once you complete chapter 2, you'll see that you're 163 of 163, and 74 of those words are in chapter 3, and 62 are in chapter 4. But also notice, if you go back to the Learning tab, that there are 279 words from Colossians that you've learned. Chapter 3, once we go through all that, all you have is 60 words of chapter 4 to learn, and that's all you need. Again, 371 words out of 431. Once you complete chapter 4, you've got 128 of 128. And notice how all the chapters are now white. The words, as you go through, as you learn, change from red to yellow to green and ultimately to white. Now, something else that I want to show you here, even though we've learned 431 words, let's go back to the Filters tab. And if we filter by book of the New Testament, you'll see that Colossians is all white, but there are several books that are green. Second John has 69 of 95 words. So there's only 26 more words you need to learn from Second John because you've already learned 69. Also, of the 431 words of Colossians, Luke has 260 of those words. So as you go through this process, as you learn words from Colossians, you're also learning words that appear in the rest of the Greek New Testament. And if we filter by grammar, let's go back to beginning with New Testament Greek by Merkel and Plummer. You'll see that if you were to take a seminary class and take beginning with New Testament Greek, you already have quite a few words in that grammar that you've learned. I think it's about 171 words out of 345. So you've learned approximately half of the words you'll need for that grammar. So I encourage you to use gntvocab.com. If you have any questions, you can use the contact page on gntvocab.com. It's a thrill to be going with you side by side in this. And I wish you Godspeed and the best success as you learn how to read Colossians in the Greek New Testament.